Hi, everyone. Happy Monday morning. I'm Carol Williams with Williams Immigration. Welcome to another Monday morning edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration. So, the first thing I want to talk to y'all about, because I like to dive right on in, is something that every single company, every single global mobility person, any business, any individual that will be filing for benefits with the USCIS needs to know. I've been talking about this for a while. I will continue to talk about it. As of October 29th, USCIS will no longer be taking paper forms of payment. So the checks that we've been sending in, the money orders that people have been sending in, they are doing away with that. So as of October 29th of this year, 2025, USCIS will only be accepting electronic payments. So whether it's credit card payments or ACH payments, they are only going to do electronic payments. So if your organization has not thought about this, if they have not shifted and looked at their policies, if y'all don't currently have a policy, you may want to create a policy. It is super important to understand that anything received by USCIS as of October 29th, so in a few short days, must have a filing fee that is being paid electronically. USCIS has two forms. One is for ACH, the other one is for credit cards. So you've got to fill out those forms and send your application in. No more checks, no more money orders. So please keep that in mind. I'm also telling my clients, super, super important. If you are not the person who receives the fraud alerts from your bank based on credit cards, make sure that that person who receives the fraud alerts is looped into this. Because if they don't recognize the amounts, and those amounts that are filing fees, they may think that the bank is correct and have the bank decline the charge. So you don't want to do that. So make sure that whoever is receiving fraud alerts understands what the amounts are of the filing fees, so that they're not telling the bank, yes, this is fraud. Thank you for catching this. Instead, you want them to say, absolutely not. This is not fraud. This is the U.S. government. Please let the charges go through. If you don't have fraud alerts set up on those credit cards, please have fraud alerts set up so that you are aware of what's happening. So that is my big push for the electronic payment switchover that is coming at the end of this month. Next up, as we know, the federal government is indeed still closed. So if you are filing H's, if you are filing PERMs, if you need prevailing wages, all of these things come from Department of Labor. The FLAG website is still down. So none of these things are we're not able to get any of these things out of Department of Labor. Your PERM applications are also not being processed. So those processing times will probably increase once we see updated processing times come out once the government is back up and running. E-Verify, I let y'all know last week, E-Verify is now back up and running. So you can use E-Verify if your business uses E-Verify normally. There was a period of time during the shutdown when E-Verify was not up and running, but it is now up and running. So you are able to use that if you are onboarding new individuals. USCIS and the State Department, who oversees the consulates, are still working and processing cases. So keep that in mind. If you have any appointments, if you've got an interview, if you have a hearing at immigration court, if you have a biometrics appointment, do not automatically assume that any of those appointments are going to be automatically rescheduled because of the government shutdown. Those offices and agencies are working. Next up, we have an update, which I don't think I've ever had an update for you all that involved the Department of Transportation, but every day is a new day with U.S. immigration. So the Department of Transportation released a new interim final rule, and it is about who can apply for and receive commercial driver's licenses and learner's permits. And so they have come up with a rule, and it essentially says, I will not go through all the ins and outs of the rule for you, but it essentially says that to be eligible for a commercial driver's license, you must have lawful employment based non-immigrant status. Those folks that are now no longer eligible for a commercial driver's license are people that have employment authorization only sort of attached to their status. So if you are someone who is applying for asylum, and because you have applied for asylum, you are also eligible to apply for work authorization, you do not get access to a commercial driver's license. Someone who's been approved for DACA, they also, as part of DACA, get independent work authorization, or an EAD. DACA recipients are also not eligible for commercial driver's licenses. Also falling under this category are individuals in the United States under TPS, doesn't matter which country. So those folks that have temporary protected status and you get an EAD as part of that program, you are also not eligible for a commercial driver's license. So for my employers out there, for my employees out there, keep that in mind when you are looking at who you need on your team and who needs to have a commercial driver's license. So I honestly don't know that I've ever had an update for y'all where Department of Transportation was looped in. So that, I think, is a first. So just keep that in mind. And also, I wanted to issue you all just a friendly reminder. E-Verify, which we know is up and running, and it was shut down for a little bit during this current government shutdown. But again, it is up and running. But E-Verify is a federal government program, but it does not replace the I-9 process. So if you are an employer who's doing E-Verify, but you are not doing I-9s, then you are out of compliance when it comes to your I-9s. So you want to make sure that you are always doing your I-9s and doing them properly. If you need help with that, certainly my office can help you with that. But you also want to make sure that if you are doing E-Verify, that you don't consider E-Verify to be something that you can do instead of doing the I-9s. I've had a few questions on that recently, so I thought I would bring it out to a slightly larger audience. So that is all I have for y'all this Monday morning. If you have any questions about your immigration case, strategies, where to go, what's happening, how what I talk about in the mornings impacts your cases, or things like that, just feel free to reach out. My team and I are here. We're happy to help. And again, I'm Carol Williams with Williams Immigration. Monday mornings, we talk about all things immigration. So have a wonderful rest of your Monday and a great rest